The following is produced by 5 Star Productions USA, which is solely responsible for its editorial content and is sponsored in part by a grant from Paul Mitchell Salon Hair Care.
Your yard and garden are nice places to escape to when you want to do some planning or just relax. These miniature ecosystems can certainly provide you with a lot of pleasure and enjoyment. But they can also be the source of environmental problems if you don't manage them right. It's all a matter of choosing the right plants and pest control methods. I'm Ed Begley, Jr. Join me as we look at this and other interesting solutions to challenging problems on today's environment.
Today, City Council in effect with 9,000
reducing air
supermarkets
pollutants by
likely a milestone
30%.
in
Educational programs.
To save money, many builders cut down all of the trees on a lot before construction of a new house begins. However, by replanting clusters of shade trees around a house, the surrounding air temperature can be cooled by 10 degrees, thereby reducing air conditioning costs. Now let's look at a creative solution to another pressing environmental concern.
There are not many products considered unobtainable in today's market. Modern transportation can bring crab legs to Kentucky and oranges to Ohio. But to bring goods, especially perishable ones, from as far away as the Far East is no easy task. Large fleets of ships and trucks bring us a good portion of the food we eat every day. In many instances, containers must be refrigerated to preserve the products. Cooling equipment is now used on everything from fishing boats to meat packing plants, to supermarket display counters, to home refrigerators and air conditioners. Now, all of it is undergoing some serious changes to save our planet. Our stratospheric ozone layer is under attack by CFCs, or chlorofluorocarbons, commonly used in today's refrigerating systems. In 1985, scientists discovered a hole in the ozone layer over the Antarctic that appears every spring. Some believe that part of the opening is due to the use of CFCs. This has led to the phasing out of CFCs within the next few years under the international agreement known as the Montreal Protocol, meaning that engineers all over the world are developing new equipment for refrigeration systems using non-chlorine chemicals. Danfoss, headquartered in Denmark, is a leader in refrigeration technologies and strongly committed to environmental protection. When a widely used number of products is updated to eliminate or reduce its use of harmful chemicals like CFCs, it has a significant bearing on our environment. Danfoss produces a new energy-efficient compressor that uses a non-chlorine chemical called R134A. The compressor is used in restaurants, water coolers, supermarkets, and homes around the world to keep products fresh and cool. But keeping cool is not always a top priority for those living in northern regions. They're more concerned with staying warm. The winters here are long, and staying warm takes a large amount of energy. To reduce fuel consumption, radiator thermostats control temperatures in homes and businesses to keep rooms at a comfortable temperature without overheating. Danfoss is the world's largest manufacturer of radiator thermostat control. When you consider that an increase of less than 2 degrees Fahrenheit can increase energy consumption by 5 to 6%, it's easy to see the importance of consistent and accurate monitoring. Radiator thermostats can cut the use of energy by as much as 20%, prompting electric companies to give rebates on upgraded products to cut down on fuel consumption that also leads to harmful emissions. Measures to reduce the use of fossil fuels and eliminate all CFCs will, in no doubt, have a positive impact on the air we breathe and our protective sun shield for future generations, and the world they will call home.
Xeriscape, a modern approach to landscaping, uses native plants which are drought tolerant. Plants like these can save a lot of water, they are ecologically sound, and they look good. Recently, Today's Environment visited a place where people are working to make our world a better place to live. Let's see what they found.
In the late 1980s, a rash of medical waste scares led officials to investigate the disposal practices of healthcare facilities. States quickly enacted legislation, but are still struggling to find even better ways to dispose of medical refuse. The Environmental Protection Agency estimates every year 1 billion pounds of biomedical waste is generated by hospitals, laboratories, clinics, and medical offices. Disposing of these mountains of waste safely, economically, and within government-regulated environmental guidelines has become a challenging problem. Traditional methods of medical waste treatment like incineration and autoclaving are now the targets of increased public concern, as well as more stringent regulatory scrutiny. Some incinerators create pollutants such as acid gases, carcinogens, ash contaminated with heavy metals, and other toxins. Fugitive emissions from retort autoclaves may contain volatile organic compounds which have been shown to be harmful to human health. Stericycle Incorporated has developed and patented a new technology called electrothermal deactivation that treats medical waste in a safe and environmentally sound way. Their system begins by shredding all materials. They are then exposed to low-frequency radio waves which create a heating action, killing harmful bacteria, fungi, and viruses known as pathogens. The energy field created in the electrothermal deactivation system destroys the pathogens but leaves the other materials intact without creating harmful emissions. Each tub is checked to ensure even energy distribution, and random testing is conducted to ensure all living organisms are killed. Reducing waste at its source is the key to limiting the environmental burden caused by medical refuse. Stericycle provides hospitals with reusable containers made of recycled plastic. These are left at specified areas to store potentially infectious materials, providing improved safety for hospital personnel. This eliminates the need for the bulky boxes traditionally used and may account for up to a 20% reduction in weight and has an added benefit of minimizing the trees needed to produce them. During treatment, the volume of waste is reduced to 15% of its original volume. A typical 300-bed hospital generates more than 20,000 cubic feet of waste every year. By compacting the waste, less than 3,000 cubic feet of landfill space are needed. Typical autoclaves do not reduce the volume of the waste, requiring more landfill space for disposal, while the ash created during incineration must be disposed of in specially constructed landfills. The company is expanding its uses of recycled materials to include products like Sterifuel, a clean-burning fossil fuel substitute that can be used to generate electricity or manufacture cement. The new fuel substitute has been approved by the National Portland Cement Association. Engineers at the facility have developed innovative means to refine and pelletize the post-consumer plastics, making it possible to recycle this material into beneficial hospital products as a substitute for virgin plastic, which requires fossil fuel. They're continually searching for new ways to treat, reduce, recycle, and reuse medical waste, hoping to put an end to destructive technologies and make a contribution to the ongoing struggle to save the quality of our air, water, and precious earth.
Dead trees, leaves, and weeds rot on the forest floor to provide a natural fertilizer. However, most home gardeners throw these things away only to go out and buy commercial products. But by building a compost pile in your backyard, you can save some money and a lot of space in our diminishing landfills. Next, we'll see how another environmental problem is being addressed.
We have become more aware of our environmental obligations. In order to be responsible, we need to think of the final destination of each package before we throw it away. We can make an informed choice to conserve our valuable resources. Groups working together are important, and that involves listening and cooperating. One program, Partners for Environmental Progress, or PEP, is an affiliation of business establishments, organizations, and consumers joining together to discuss, inform, and develop environmental activities enabling communities to take action.
The Partners for Environmental Progress have allowed us to coalesce our environmental forces more or less and to focus them. And so now we have programs that we're developing that approach the problem with some focus.
Companies participating in the program are urging consumers to make an informed conservation choice through not only recycling, but through reduction and reuse. Comiskey Park, home of the Chicago White Sox, is just one example of the program's success. This particular PEP consists of the White Sox organization, Solo Cup, Dow Plastics, Rubbermaid, and Sports Service. These associations teamed up with the ballpark to recycle all the plastic cups sold in the stadium. Through inter-park promotions and word of mouth, PEP has been successful at establishing a pilot recycling movement, reducing the waste heading to landfills and helping to clean up the ballpark at the same time. During the 1992 season, 120,000 cups were sent to a Chicago recycler where they will be made into resin pellets and eventually new products. PEP is also seeing to it that tomorrow's reducers, reusers, and recyclers maintain an interest in preserving our environment. They're extending the recycling message to students across the nation through a special story called Lots and Lots of Pippin Dots within a lesson kit entitled What's It Made Of? It's a colorful and interesting story about how plastics affect the quality of our lives and how they are recycled into new products. The children get a hands-on lesson from samples of plastic resin pellets included in the kit. PEP encourages the teachers and children to use their imaginations to their fullest and continue the lesson with creative writing, group discussions, and projects centering on the role of plastics. While recycling is a must, PEP acknowledges other factors that can weigh just as heavily in conserving resources. Making informed choices may not always be the convenient way to accomplish some tasks at hand, but by being informed, it's easy to weigh the factors involving our everyday products. When grocery shopping, buy goods that have the least amount of packaging, like concentrated products. Ask the person bagging them not to double bag if it's really not necessary, and pack as many products as possible into one sack. Use a plastic produce bag to hold different types of fruit if possible, and buy larger sizes if possible. A 1-pound box uses less material than 2 half-pound boxes. Our new awareness has already helped make significant strides toward a cleaner world, and by working together, we will continue making environmental progress.
Did you know that your lawn doesn't have to be manicured with the golf course look to be healthy? Most people cut their grass too short. In fact, for most types of grass, it's better to trim it to 2 or 3 inches. This provides natural shade to the roots and holds the moisture in the ground better. Let's now turn our attention to another solution to an environmental problem.
Every engine has an ideal temperature at which it best operates. For instance, the human body is most efficient at 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. To maintain its ideal operating temperature, the body relies on coolant. The coolant used in the human body is water. When the body gets hot, it uses water to perspire and remove excess heat. When cold, it uses calories to heat the water and distribute it throughout. Cars, trucks, and tractor engines also operate most efficiently at certain temperatures. But instead of just plain water controlling their temperatures, engine coolant is used. The chemical ethylene glycol is mixed with water and corrosion inhibitors to create the perfect balance for typical automotive engine coolant. Over time, corroding metals dissolve in the coolant along with any gas or oil that may be leaking from seals or cracks. After 1 to 2 years of use, the typical coolant contains a combination of water, ethylene glycol, 8 chemical inhibitors, heavy metals, oil, gasoline, acids, and salts. It can also have high levels of lead and benzene, causing it to be classified as hazardous to the environment. Remarkably, most used engine coolant is discarded into municipal sewer or water runoff systems, which lead to surrounding water bodies. In a lake or stream, the ethylene glycol will consume large amounts of oxygen and suffocate fish, plants, and insects. Now, companies like PRS are recycling used coolant. By recycling it, they make an unusable material usable. The system reduces toxicity and the volume of hazardous waste while saving resources and energy. The used coolant is collected from automotive dealerships, quick lube facilities, and even mining companies, which use large quantities of it to help maintain their machinery. Once collected, it's taken to their recycling plant in Salt Lake City, Utah. Here, the oil, metals, acids, and salts are removed and the coolant is decontaminated. The mixture is reblended to make recycled engine coolants that meet all industry quality standards. PRS's recycling process produces no hazardous waste or harmful air emissions. For every 1,000 gallons of used coolant recycled, only 14 gallons of innocuous filter cake powder are sent to a landfill, and 260 gallons of distilled water and 2.1 gallons of salt water are sent through the local sewer system. About 500 million gallons of engine coolant are available for recycling in America every year. This one facility can keep some 5 million gallons of spent engine coolant from our lakes and streams annually. Right now, PRS is extending its knowledge to cover the recycling of glycol-based products. Our knowledge and capabilities are allowing us to develop new products from old ones without compromising quality. This one example is keeping our engines and our planet running smoothly.
A lot of natural wildlife habitat are being destroyed. However, one thing you can do to help is to turn your yard into a sanctuary. By selecting the right kinds of plants, you can attract specific types of birds, rabbits, and butterflies. It can be your window on nature. Here's a solution to another difficult environmental problem.
All garbage materials degrade very slowly in landfills. This is because the light, air, and water needed to stimulate the process is often insufficient due to the methods of piling and lining landfills. Municipal waste consists of plastics, glass, metals, and yard waste, but mostly of paper, which accounts for over 35% of landfill volume. Paper is a product that is necessary for many activities in our daily lives. But in addition to the landfill dilemma are the other problems associated with our paper usage. To make a ton of paper, 17 fully grown trees are ground down and made into pulp. Paper mills must then cleanse the pulp with chemicals. A single treatment is capable of polluting an estimated 20,000 gallons of water. This is why it's so important to use recycled paper when possible, and to recycle the paper we use. But an even better case scenario is to never use paper in the first place. Paper conservation. Many of us use it unnecessarily, without realizing it, simply because we are creatures of habit. For example, when given the choice between paper towels and warm air hand dryers, most of us pick the towels. A typical fast food restaurant uses 25 to 35 cases of 4,000 multifold paper towels per year for hand drying in their washrooms. Now, this accounts for up to 1,000 pounds of unnecessary waste annually per restaurant. While paper towels can be made from recycled materials, they cannot be recycled. Therefore, we need to avoid using them whenever possible to keep from adding to our landfills and depleting our natural resources. Hand dryers have been available for over 40 years, but their significant benefits to the environment are just beginning to gain public awareness. The World Dryer Corporation of Berkeley, Illinois, supplies many of America's leading businesses with this sanitary way to curb paper towel use. Fast food chains, amusement parks, and state-run organizations are eliminating thousands of tons of garbage just because they made a switch to hand dryers. Public attitudes are also changing. People are now more willing to take a little extra time to reduce the country's waste. Incredibly, only 4% of America's public washrooms now use warm air hand dryers. This simple, low-energy device can significantly impact waste reduction as more public washrooms remove paper towels and offer this environmentally sound alternative. Water is another natural resource we can no longer afford to fritter away. World Dryer is also getting their feet wet with a new Sensomatic faucet. The faucets dispense water automatically when hands enter an invisible sensor field located underneath the spout. The water turns off automatically when the hands are removed. The water can be pre-mixed to a desired temperature to avoid heating fluctuations, which saves energy. The environmental benefits are clearly apparent when you consider the amount of water used for everyday habits, even in your home, like brushing your teeth and washing dishes. But when using public facilities, we can all do our part by utilizing automatic faucets and passing up paper towels for automatic hand dryers.
Most Americans overwater their lawns by 20 to 40%. It only takes 1 inch of water a week to maintain an established lawn. If it rained during the week, shut off your automatic sprinklers and save water. In this next segment, we'll see how one company is dealing with another environmental issue.
Water, water everywhere, nor any drop to drink. These words from the Ancient Mariner were written by Samuel Taylor Coleridge in 1798, but today they could just as easily describe an environmental problem of global proportions. Although water is the most abundant substance on Earth, only 2/3 of 1% of it is potable. The rest is either salty seawater or is frozen in glaciers and the polar ice caps. Many scientists believe that the total amount of water in the world has remained constant for the past 3 billion years, neither increasing or decreasing. It simply circulates through a natural solar-powered hydraulic cycle. Heat from the sun evaporates seawater to create clouds, which then condense over the land to form rain or snow. In this never-ending process, the water is recycled by Mother Nature. However, commercial and industrial uses of this resource are beginning to outpace nature's ability to maintain an adequate supply of fresh water. There was a time, and it wasn't too long ago, when industrial wastewater was simply dumped along with its pollutants into our rivers, lakes, and streams. When it was recognized that this destructive practice could not be tolerated any longer, state and federal legislation required treatment of the water before discharging it. But even this is not good enough today because there are better solutions. Through recent advancements in technology, we are now beginning to see zero-discharge water treatment facilities in some new industrial plants. For example, Ocean State Power, a 500-megawatt generating plant in Burrillville, Rhode Island, has one of the most advanced water treatment systems found in any U.S. power plant. At the heart of this system are 3 evaporators and crystallizers built by HPD Incorporated of Naperville, Illinois. Mimicking the operation of the natural hydraulic cycle, this system cleans and recycles the same water over and over again. Briny wastewater is pumped into the evaporators, where it's separated into a clean distillate stream and a concentrated waste stream. The concentrate, which contains all of the solids, is then sent to the 3 HPD crystallizers for further treatment. The distilled water from both the evaporators and crystallizers is then recycled to the cooling towers to dissipate heat. Chemicals are added to the water at various stages for emissions control and to prevent corrosion and scaling of plant equipment. The end result of this complex water treatment process is a concentrated filter cake that is trucked off-site to a licensed landfill. Most power plants are built on or near bodies of water so they may acquire and dispose of the water more efficiently. This alone has become an issue for many environmentalists due to the impact on bird and wildlife habitat. However, the Ocean State Power Facility is located about 10 miles away from the nearest source of water. And while the plant draws about 2,000 gallons per minute from the Blackstone River, it only takes what it needs to replace what evaporates into the atmosphere. As a result of its zero-discharge design, this modern power plant is able to supply the power needs of people in the community while conserving one of our most precious natural resources, water.
Amazingly, pesticides aren't helping agricultural yield. Farmers are still losing 1/3 of their crops to pests. It's the same as before they started to use pesticides, yet use of these chemicals continues. American farmers dump 2.7 billion pounds a year into the environment, and homeowners add another 300 million pounds. But there are safer alternatives, and we need to use more of them. I'm Ed Begley, Jr. Join me again next week on Today's Environment for more creative solutions to some tough problems.
If you know of any interesting environmental success stories, call us at 407-997-9800. This has been a presentation of 5 Star Productions USA. The preceding program was sponsored in part by a grant from Paul Mitchell Salon Hair Care.